Mm, 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 mm. What's up, peeps? What's up? What's up? Natalie, what's up? How are you doing? Prawn, Richard Toma, Free Wolf, Sophia, Joshio. I know, man. I miss you guys too. That's okay. I'm here. I'm here. I will be here. Politics was getting crazy. I had to do some. The other politics, the other side. This is the fun stuff, but I had to do some of the other stuff lately. The strategizing and all that good stuff. Make sure we can get some progressives in office. A dingo ate my baby. I'm not high. Not really something to celebrate, but Jacqueline. Good night here in VA. So glad it's not Alabama. Hey, I think that basically once a week, everyone says to themselves, I'm glad that I don't live in Alabama. I think that's basically everybody. Vicky, what's going on? Tim, Tulsi 2020. You're damn straight. You're damn straight. Tulsi is just killing the game. Look, man, Tulsi has been doing so much. She's been doing so well that lately I legitimately feel like it's hard to keep up with her. I can't even cover all the news because it's like rapid fire. But it's interesting because the reason that, or I've been noticing lately that the Tulsi hate has been ramping up. If we could even think that's possible, but yeah, it's possible. They're literally like inventing things now, like for they're inventing reasons to be upset with her at this point. A lot of it isn't even being upset with her. A lot of it's being they're upset with her supporters for holding other candidates to the same standards that, in my personal opinion, we've always held other candidates to. And for me personally, like I always say, it was super easy for me to endorse Tulsi from my like just from my perspective, right? So I'm a very objective person. Like, objectivity is like the bane of my existence. Anybody who's ever been my friend can attest to this. I'm the worst when it comes to objectivity because I'm objective to a fault a lot of the times. Tulsi's very much so the same way, which is probably why we get along so well. But like, whenever I see bullshit, I'll call it that. Whenever someone is objectively the best person, then it is what it is. That's what I'll say. And it's some people don't like that, right? Because don't let anybody fool you. They very much so believe that some candidates, progressive or otherwise, are the promised one, that they're entitled because they had a really good history up until this point. And that's all well and good, but I don't see anybody else talking about they're going to drop charges against Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. You catch my drift? Little things like that where, okay, you've had the same consistent history, some bad, mostly good for a long time. But when Tulsi has jam-packed every progressive policy that you could think of in the last 3 years and has advocated for it, introduced legislation for it, and has fought for it, every type of advocacy that you can think of over the last 2 to 3 years, like gave up her career or her potential career as an establishment promised candidate in the DNC. It's like, I'm sorry, I have a better option, so I don't know what you want me to tell you. Well, she doesn't have a chance. Yeah, heard that before. I've heard that all before. So you know how it goes. Go donate to Tulsi. She's trying to hit. I'm sure a lot of y'all saw that Joe Rogan interview. I'm only 3/4 of the way through it, actually. I've been skipping around. I watched I watched most of it yesterday, though. Yo, killed it. She killed that interview. Why didn't the Humanist Report rank her number one? To be honest, it's because Mike likes Bernie better. Like, if I'm going to be honest, and I don't take it as a personal slight against Tulsi. I'm not saying that everybody has to rank her number one. Everybody has their personal preference, but just it is in my estimation, right, that there. I hate it. It's going to sound messed up. So white people, right? White people tend to focus on domestic policies and to focus on the policies that could affect them the most, and policies that would benefit them directly. To be truthful, they pretend to be as concerned about people dying in Yemen, in Iraq, and Afghanistan, and countless other places that we don't even know about. Somalia, Sudan, Libya. They pretend to care as much about that as they do about the domestic policies that affect them. But the truth of the matter is they don't. Like, and it's not like I don't mean that to be offensive, but it's just a fact. It's just the way that they are raised. That is the culture that they have been bred in, is to focus on themselves and the people who look like them. So, for example, I had an interaction on Twitter today where this guy attacked someone for a black person saying, well, if Bernie doesn't have a black agenda, a black specific agenda, then he's going to have problems. And the truth of the matter is, if you're in black circles, you know that he is going to have problems. No, it won't cause him problems in the general election, to be quite honest with you. I'm not saying that. But in the Democratic primary, he will have problems. Because I know for a fact behind the scenes right now, Tulsi is working on a black specific agenda, because black people are very specific issues that need to be dealt with. Now, instead of asking this person, well, what do you mean by that? What policies would you like to see put forth? And they could have had a productive conversation. Maybe they agreed, maybe they disagreed, but they would have went on about their separate ways. That's not actually what happened. What he said was, what do you mean Bernie isn't the best for black people? He does Medicare for all helps everybody. Free college helps everybody. Yeah, but we're not asking about policies that help everybody. You know what policy was supposed to help everybody? Decriminalization of marijuana in states like California, Colorado, and Maryland, and a few others. Do you know who benefits the least from the decriminalization of marijuana, despite the fact that we were disproportionately punished for decriminalization or for the criminalization of marijuana? Black people. In Maryland and other states, we are actually being forbidden to pursue marijuana vendors' licenses. That's what we mean by black specific. Because the policies that Bernie Sanders is introducing, by the way, I'm not a one issue voter, by the way. And honestly, up until Tulsi reached out to me personally to ask me about the black agenda and things like that, I just assume, because that's just the history, we have a bunch of old white candidates and two basically race traders in Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. So I didn't expect that to be like a big topic of conversation, nor was I expecting it to affect my vote. I was just saying whoever screws black people over the least is basically what we're going with right now. Because no matter all the positive policies Bernie wants to put in place, at the end of the day, we all know who's going to run the show on divvying up who benefits the most from these policies. It's white people, which means, as history has shown us, black people will get the short end of those sticks. So yeah, everybody will rise. Everybody will do better with healthcare. Everybody will have more opportunity. But at the end of the day, black people will, historically proven, have less. And that's what people mean by a black agenda. Like I said, all I said was, hey, maybe you should listen to black people instead of presuming to know what the fuck they mean by a black agenda. Instead of attacking them as if they don't know what, like, we don't know what our experience are. And so it's, and you know what I'm saying? Because it's a difference. If y'all have noticed, everyone else is pretending or claiming as if they have a black agenda. Tulsi's the only one that's been moving in silence. Tulsi endorsed or co-sponsored HR 40, and she did it in silence. Nobody knew about it until I talked about it. I actually, she talked to me about it via DMs on Twitter. And she's even talking about so the black agenda and race issues in general are very important to her, and she doesn't want to pander, and she doesn't want to use it to pander. So until she sits down and has that conversation and draws out and maps out policy, she's not pandering, because that's an insult. She's not going to say, well, look at what my policies do for you already. It helps everybody. No, because she knows, as a Hawaiian and as a Polynesian, like, you think that the native Hawaiians' needs might differ from the white Hawaiians that came after we took over Hawaii? Absolutely. So her being Polynesian understands this. But they don't want to have that conversation. That, once again, just like I said, it's something that separates Tulsi from everybody else. If she doesn't have an answer, she's going to shut up and listen. But the people who say they care about race issues, care about the military-industrial complex and brown and black people dying overseas, they say they care about that, and yet and once again, I did a video on this, they always describe, well, Tulsi's only good on foreign policy. Wow, I didn't know millions of people dying was an only situation. Like, that's a bad thing. You know, it's interesting, what they probably should be saying, and I want to get started because we're a little bit over time. What they should be saying is not Tulsi is only good on foreign policy. It should be Tulsi is the only one who is good on foreign policy. And if they knew their history, they would know that there is a reason that people who are ignorant on foreign policy are the ones who are constantly being propped up. Who dropped the bomb? The 2 nuclear weapons. Truman, a blithering idiot on foreign policy. FDR was basically tricked into defending the British colonies in Africa because he was ignorant on foreign policy. Woodrow Wilson entered the United States into World War I because he was ignorant on foreign policy. He allowed Germany to be scapegoated, which ultimately led to World War II and the Holocaust, because he was ignorant on foreign policy. Every major war was started over a stupid president. They didn't allow Henry Wallace to take over after FDR because Henry Wallace was everything but ignorant on foreign policy. All right, there we go. That's my rant for the day. That's my rant for the morning. So, what is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. It's been a couple of days. I'm glad to be here. We have a good show for you today. We're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard going on Joe Rogan and discussing dropping the charges of Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. We're also going to talk about this poll, Emerson poll that just came out. That's a little bit more favorable towards Bernie because it actually, decides to ask people that are younger than 50 years old. Who knew that you can get accurate answers when you ask more people of more demographics? I know, right? It's crazy. And then we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren's tweets earlier today, where she discusses not going on Fox News, and she goes on this little tirade about blah, 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 blah. Yeah, she's not trying to win. That's the moral of that story. But first, we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard going on Joe Rogan. So in case you did not know, Tulsi Gabbard sat down again in a much anticipated interview. Second interview. with Joe Rogan. May I just say, Joe Rogan is becoming a must-stop destination. If you want to win or even have a chance to win in the 30 to 35 closed and open and semi-open primary states, you got to go to Joe Rogan, because this man has this ability to bring audiences together from all ideologies, and he only really inquires. He gives his 2 cents, but then he allows you to elaborate and expound upon whatever your belief system is, why you believe the things you do. And if you're a candidate, you don't want to have leading questions. You don't want to be steered towards having one conversation or the other. Joe Rogan's podcast is exactly where you want to go on. But this interview, if you've not seen it yet, it will be the most important 2.5-hour interview of a presidential candidate that you will see the entire election. I can guarantee it. It was golden. It was golden. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we're going to talk about this, but just so you understand the gravity of this, she talks about her and Joe Rogan talk about the JFK deep state speech. They talk about the Eisenhower speech where he warns about the military-industrial complex. Obviously, they talk about Snowden, Julian Assange, and Chelsea Manning. They talk about, she starts calling out people by name. She called out James Clapper by name for lying about the NSA taking data from the cell phone company. Like, she starts calling people out by name. So if you have not watched that interview in its entirety, I strongly encourage you to do so. It would well equip you whenever people are saying, well, she's just good on foreign policy. Oh no, you have no idea how good Tulsi Gabbard is on foreign policy. Now, with that being said, I want to go ahead and run this clip really fast where Joe Rogan, straight up, which is interesting, because I didn't even think about asking her that whenever because we asked her about this but didn't ask her that directly. But he asked her straight up, hey, what are you going to do if you were the president of the free world today? What would you do about Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Chelsea Manning? Let's take a listen.
As far as
what would you do once
dropping the charges?
If you're president of the world right now, what do you do?
Dropping the charges.
You drop the charges, but they're still going after him for something from Sweden in Julian Assange's case.
Yeah.
And so Edward Snowden would be the only one that you would be able to, right? Because unless you would influence...
Well, the charges that the Trump administration is...
putting on Julian Assange.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it remains to be seen whether or not they will push for extradition.
There's another charge that I think it was today. Sweden decided to go after him again for some sexual thing that they had decided to go after him many, many years ago. Edward Snowden, what he's doing right now is essentially living day to day, holed up in Russia, in hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And the charges against him stem from, again, this illegal operation that he, in many ways, he's very patriotic. I mean, he let us know, and at great cost.
Yeah.
So you would give him a pardon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've got to address why he did the things the way that he did them.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the same thing from Chelsea Manning, how there is not an actual channel for whistleblowers like them to bring forward information that exposes egregious abuses of our constitutional rights and liberties, period. I mean, there was not a channel for that to happen in a real way, and that's why they ended up taking the path that they did and suffering the consequences.
A lot to unpack there, right? So for her do you understand something? And I was racking my brain about this. I was actually looking for other people who have answered this question, right? I think the only other person who has said this statement blatantly was Mike Gravel. But the ones who are running to win, the only one who has said this is Tulsi Gabbard. The only one who has said this, that she would pardon Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, and Edward Snowden is Tulsi Gabbard. The only one who has expressed the importance of what the information they leaked is Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Gravel, excuse me. I keep forgetting, I know he's not trying to win, but I don't like leaving him out because he said so many important things that I don't like to leave him out. Understand something, people. And by the way, don't forget, you can leave a super chat if you have a dire comment that you want to get out there. Understand that for her to know the intelligence community is watching, for her to know the deep state is watching, and I mean that, like the deep state, and when I tell you watching, like I said, they prop up the most ignorant on foreign policy. That is why they would be okay with Bernie rather than Tulsi. They're like, okay, domestic policy, whatever. Because they kind of figured at this point, the man has over 1 million volunteers, over $15 million, over 1 million individual donors. They've already kind of accepted their fate when it's come to Bernie. Like, let's be real. They're trying to run the game with the Joe Biden situation, but like, in all honesty, they've accepted their fate. However, when they realize, oh, wow, we can actually get him to quote our rhetoric, to use our rhetoric, to believe our intelligence community when it comes to issues of Russia, when it comes to issues of Syria. And he has evolved on Venezuela, but even initially when it came to Venezuela. So they became a little bit okay with it. We can have him on mainstream talking about these issues. We can ask him these questions at the debate because FDR was fantastic. He was fantastic on domestic policy. But World War II only reached the heights that it did eventually reach because FDR is ignorant as hell on foreign policy. He's a spoiled rich kid growing up. So as great as FDR was on domestic policy, right? The Holocaust was still allowed to happen under FDR's watch. Because, and not to mention, corporations were creating Nazi subsidiaries in Germany under FDR's watch. So when I say that they would rather have Bernie Sanders, it isn't an insult to Bernie per se. It's not an insult. But I'm trying to help people understand that there's a reason that every major war has happened under an ignorant ass president. There's a reason for that. And there's also a reason that they are going out of their way, out of the gate. They came out the gate, guns blazing in a way that I have never seen before during a presidential election. Even with Mike Gravel, right? Mike Gravel, I don't believe received as much. He got shut out, but he didn't receive the amount of attacks that Tulsi has. And Mike even admitted this on the interview I did with him. The difference between Mike Gravel, the difference between Bernie Sanders, the difference between every other person running in Tulsi Gabbard is, like she said at that town hall meeting, you know why they're scared of me? Because I don't need no damn general to tell me how to run things. I don't need a Secretary of Defense, and I don't need a Secretary of State. I don't have to listen to them to understand what's going on because I've been there. Not only have I been there as a congresswoman, I've been there as a member of the Committee of Foreign Affairs. Not only have I been there as a member of the Committee of Foreign Affairs, I've also been there as a soldier, as a major, as an officer in the National Guard, active duty right now. Not only have I been there as all three of those things, but she is also a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, which up until this point, I've always connotated as a negative, as a hit against her career. However, the way she described it to me, and she said this pretty candidly on the show, by the way. Yeah, I'm a part of CFR. Didn't know exactly what it was. I got asked to be in it. I'm on a 5-year term limit, and most of them don't like me, nor do they agree with me. But she's not running away from them because she knows that the CFR is where a lot of these major military industrial complex decisions are made. And so she's coming in with an understanding that no other congressman, senator, president, secretary of defense, et cetera, has. No other presidential candidate has this. We have a super chat. If Bernie wins, you know Tulsi running the show. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. I do believe that if Bernie wins, shout out to Big Irv, by the way. Appreciate the super chat. Always showing love on Twitter. If Bernie wins, best believe Tulsi's running that foreign policy. However, now I do want to say, with that being said, that's all well and good, but Tulsi has also shown the propensity to fight back. So Tulsi could be running the show to a degree, but then Bernie, and I hate to say this, Bernie seems to be partial to the opinions of old white people. And I don't know what it is. It's weird because he knows better, but he seems to be partial to their opinions. He seems to defer, whereas Tulsi refuses to. So that's why, as I am also worried about domestic policy, make no mistake about it, I also feel like Tulsi's better on domestic policy because, well, she understands that it's not just the Republicans rigging the elections, it's the Democrats as well. We can't just have a Green New Deal resolution that doesn't include nuclear power, that doesn't ban fracking, that doesn't really do its job. That's why she has the OFF Act. So, but I'm not a one-issue voter, right? I'm not. I've never been that. And I oftentimes don't even vote for issues that necessarily affect myself, believe it or not. Because I know how to advocate for my rights at the local level. So I try to vote for issues. I'm like, okay, who would be affected most by the negatives of this candidate or the positives of this candidate? Tulsi dropping charges on Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Chelsea Manning. Make no mistake about it, people. I am the press. I know my name is on the list somewhere. And this is one of them times where I might just be I'm sorry to vote for her, but this is one of them times where I might just be a single issue voter because once again, it goes down to the root causes of a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in society. Freedom of the press is, no pun intended, one of the most pressing matters of contemporary political dialogue. The reason that the populace is so uneducated is because of a lack of freedom of the press. Now, for example, when the CIA used the In-Q-Tel venture capitalism firm to give Jeff Bezos $600 million to buy Washington Post, is that freedom of the press? When the government is leveraging its unlimited access to funding to buy off one of the most popular news publications to use as propaganda, is that freedom of the press? For Julian Assange to merely print information that was handed to him that exposed war crimes while we simultaneously try to prosecute him as if he did something wrong while the war criminals are getting hired for second jobs. Oh, you don't think that's happening? Why do you think that John Bolton is going so hard after Julian Assange? Why do you think that Mattis was? Why do you think Pompeo was? These are the people who Julian Assange exposed. These are the people Chelsea Manning exposed. And James Clapper, as we learned from Seymour Hersh, was actually part of a disinformation campaign in the last 2 to 3 years. On behalf of the CIA, the same James Clapper that Tulsi Gabbard brings up in this interview, where he says, straight up lies to us. When Edward Snowden broke this information, you know what James Clapper said? Nuh-uh, we don't got that information. Come on. It was a factual statement, factual information. It was factual information that Edward Snowden released showing the NSA is taking our records. James Clapper lied to us straight to our face. Is James Clapper being pursued by the Democrats right now? Because the Democrats are pretending as if they just, I can't believe people would lie to us. The damn Trump administration, these freaking Republicans, we need to subpoena. Gotta subpoena everybody. Okay, you want to subpoena James Clapper for lying to the Congress and the Senate? Nah, probably not. But let's go after Julian Assange. Let's go after Chelsea Manning, let's go after Edward Snowden. Basically, like Tulsi said, right? It's sad. It's a sad day for democracy when you can't print something the U.S. government doesn't like without being maligned, smeared, extradited, and prosecuted. It's a sad day for democracy. Freedom of the press is like I said, for me, freedom of the press is freedom of education. It is everything that the pursuit of life, liberty, and this pursuit of in pursuit of happiness, that's what that is. How can I pursue my liberties if I am being denied freedom of the press, which gives me the liberty of autonomy when making decisions about how I feel about my government, my politicians, the policies that are being presented in front of me? When I have to deal with Fox News still has a Facebook page, CNN still has a Facebook page, ABC, MSNBC, all those, they still have Facebook pages, but we found out that they had been lying to us. The 17 intelligence agencies was a myth. It was a lie, and they still have. They still have faced zero repercussions, while journalists, real journalists, investigative journalists, publishers, editors who merely print the truth are constantly being hounded, punished. In some cases, they even disappear. Have to seek asylum. There is no democracy in the press. Point blank. Period. So with that being said, people, I want to go on to our next topic. Give me a second. Hope everybody's doing well, by the way. If y'all just showing up, the live streams, well, some of the clips will be up. Don't forget, if you want access to the full live stream, you can become a patron on Patreon. You can do so by clicking on the link in the description. You can become a patron. Literally, is for as little as $1. I do a lot of live streams. I have in the last 2 or 3 days, or 3 to 4 days, but do a lot of live streams. We post the clips. However, to get access to the rants and the complaining, is basically what I do most of the time. You want to make sure that you are a patron. I want to make this large so y'all can read this, because these polls are kind of important. These polls are kind of important now. Got to analyze these polls. All right, people. So, Emerson, one of the better polls, not always the best, but one of the better polls, has they released a new poll. Another one. And yeah, I know the headline's stupid. Do we believe it? No, not really. Don't believe it. We know, but listen, y'all, just before I go into the deep dive of this, no, Biden is not leading shit. He's not leading the damn thing. Look, I need y'all to see my face. Hold up real quick. I need y'all to see my face. He ain't leading shit. He's not leading a damn thing. Nothing. Not a damn thing. There's nothing that Biden is leading except for in statements that completely undermine his entire campaign and completely contrived, obtuse, and ridiculous logic, like his logic for why he doesn't support Medicare for all. And if anybody wants to clarify that, I don't even understand what the hell he was saying. I wanted to do a rant. I'm not even joking. I saw the statement. I heard the statement, and I was like, I want to do a video on this, but I don't even know what I would say because I don't even understand what he was saying. Biden ain't leading a damn thing. All right? He's not. Let's continue. So let's go ahead and take a look at this Emerson poll. So the new Emerson poll finds former Vice President Joe Biden with a bump from his official entrance into the race, taking back the lead over Bernie Sanders, which once again, not true, but we'll continue. The poll finds Biden with 33% and Sanders with 25%. The April Emerson poll had Sanders ahead of Biden 29% to 24%. That's weird because I feel like they did not have him at that. I feel like they had it reversed, right? Didn't they say that Biden was ahead of him in April? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, it's making this a 13-point swing in favor of the vice president. Oh, you know what? The April Emerson poll was put out before Biden had announced, and they had decided, before they decided to lie to the American public that his announcement with all of the 10 old people, no offense to old people, I got a lot of love for y'all, but there was only 10 old people there, and no offense, but millennials are the largest voting bloc in the country now. So having 10 old people at your rally where they couldn't even pan, they wouldn't even pan the camera. They wouldn't even pan the camera so you could see the audience. Because if you pan the camera so they can see the audience, you're going to pan and you're going to pan and you're going to get to the corner right there. Like, oh shit, ain't nobody in the building. Pan back, pan back. That's what's going to happen. So they said that it's a 13-point swing for Vice President Joe Biden. That's what they said. Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Warren are tied for third place, each getting 10%. And Mayor Pete Buttigieg rounds out at the top 5 at 8%. I've noticed that his campaign is fizzling out as well. Seriously, I don't know who the hell they're asking. Now, no other candidate in the field clears 3%. Of course, we can confidently say that no other candidate in the field clears 3%, okay? Because if you've asked 429 people, how could this poll possibly be inaccurate? 4.7 margin of error, people, is a problem. That's too high. Anything, we talk about this here a lot. Anything above 4%, you really want to have it below 4%, but anything above 4% is way too damn high. Fuentes 11, not leading even if his house, even his house, he ain't got shit. Man, you just dropped that super chat just to dunk on that man. All right. Let me continue. So there is some positive. I don't want to go through all of the super details of this Emerson poll because we already know. We already know what the outcome is going to be. They're going to oversample older people. They're going to probably undersample independents. I literally don't even have to look at the details to know that they're probably bullshitting. But it's cool, right? It's cool. We're going to get into the good news. We're going to dive into the good news stuff, and then we'll go from there. A majority of Democratic primary voters, 56%, indicate that there is a chance they could change their mind and vote for another candidate, whereas 44% say they will definitely vote for the candidate they're currently supporting. Spencer Kimball, director of Emerson Polling, notes that Biden and Sanders have more loyal supporters at 52 and 54%. of their voters say that they will definitely vote for the top two candidates, while 33% of Harris and 27% of Buttigieg and 20% of Warren's voters plan to definitely stick with their preferred candidate. A strength for Sanders throughout this early stage of the nominating process has been the support of younger voters. And Sanders currently leads Biden among 18 to 29-year-olds. You don't say, people. Are you telling me that young people don't like Biden? I'm going to tell y'all a secret, bro. most people below the age of 25, even maybe 21, I would say maybe 21. Most people below the age of 21 don't even know who the hell Joe Biden is. I'm not even joking. If I go on the street to like maybe right out of high school, right, 18-year-olds that will be voting, if I ask them straight up, if I say, hey man, you're gonna vote for Biden, they're gonna be like, huh, who the hell's Biden? I know because I've tried it. I didn't try, but I stop at our McDonald's, at the McDonald's by my house. It's mostly high schoolers that work there, and so I always ask them random questions. And I always say like, oh, you gonna vote for Biden? They're like, who? They didn't even know who Kamala was, to be quite honest with you. They knew who Bernie was. Only a couple knew who Tulsi was. But when I actually showed, which is kind of funny. So when I show pictures of Tulsi to people, they know who she is. They're like, oh, bro, yeah, man, I know who she is, dog. Yo, listen, man. I'm like, okay, keep it to yourself. All right, we good. I get it. I know. He said, man, but I mean, I'm gonna check her out though since you said something. So just had to tell y'all that was a funny story. But so Sanders is winning 18 to 29-year-olds by an impressive 41% to 11% when it comes to Biden. However, Sanders' support weakens with ages 30 through 39. They break for Sanders at 29% to 26% as compared to the 50 to 64-year-old who breaks for Biden at 42% to 19%. Among those 65 and older, Biden has a strong lead, 52% to 7%. Within Republican Party, the president remains very popular and very likely to hold the Republican nomination. Leading Republican primary candidate and former... Hold up! Y'all ain't telling me that Trump was getting primary. Are they gonna allow a primary? I didn't know. Hold up, this is like some breaking news I just found out. I did not know that. Did y'all know this? Is he really getting primary? We need to find this information out right now. I'll find it out in a little bit. So the good news is for Bernie is that base that he created in 2016 is holding strong for him. And that base is going to be necessary in order for him to win in the general, right? So this isn't just important for the Democratic primary because you want to be real about it. You think that it's only 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds that are going to vote for Bernie? Unless that number is being allocated at some point to like some of those numbers, maybe Kamala, maybe a few will be in the camp for not Warren, Booker, and a lot are in the camp for Tulsi. Even with all three of, if we put Tulsi, Kamala, and Booker combined, and this is just me being realistic, right? Bernie probably had like 85% of voters from 18 to 29. And that's just, and this, you know, some people don't really like it. If you're a Tulsi supporter, I get it. It's frustrating at times because I've endorsed Tulsi. So, but like I said, I'm objective to a fault, and I am not naive. Bernie has a well-deserved lead amongst the youth because he put in a lot of work in that department in 2016 and carried that going forward into 2020. And I believe 100% that is a result of the work. I was there. I helped put in the work for him, so I know. I was a president of Carolina Students for Bernie Sanders. I was a president of North Carolina Colleges for Bernie Sanders. We had the largest club in the country, and it wasn't like it was hard to get the largest club in the country. We ended up with 300 active members, and 600 people signed up for the damn club with 300 remaining active. So when I say that the youth have been excited for Bernie, I don't think that that's like a controversial statement, and I don't think that this number is actually reflective of his actual support amongst the youth. It's also important to remember that the millennials are indeed the largest voting bloc, and the younger side of the millennials, right? The younger millennials are just as active now as the older baby boomers who tend to vote in every election, which is why the Republican baby boomers tend to lean conservative, and the Republicans tend to win midterms because of that. However, as we saw take place in the midterms, there is a changing of the guard that we are seeing witness. And it's because millennials are the largest voting bloc, and then the what are they, centennials? I don't know what they call it, Generation Y, Z, X, Y, Z, B, C, D, A. I don't know what they are. But the ones who were born after 1996, 97-ish, they are basically falling in line with the millennial voting patterns. So that's great for us, right? Because like I said, at the end of the day, even though I've endorsed Tulsi, Bernie is still a fantastic candidate. Bernie would absolutely put Tulsi on his staff. And I do believe that all of a sudden local politics will be able to take a life of its own, because Bernie won't be trying to influence negative outcomes of local politics. He'll obviously be going, and I believe that Bernie would be the definition of a presiding officer. I do believe that he would be in state to state, making sure that the right leaders are being put in place. He wouldn't just be ruling from an iron throne, if you will. So I think that's a great thing. So overall, if Bernie continues down the path that he is on, when you're talking about polls that are actually being swayed against him, right? This is not an optimistic poll. I know it says that Bernie is winning amongst the youth, but this isn't an optimistic poll. This isn't even a realistic poll. Because if you're going to pretend that Bernie only has 41% to 11% for Joe Biden, with the 5%, basically a 5% margin of error, 4.7%, and you've only asked 429 people, which, by the way, I've been doing some more research on polling analysis, and I found out that a lot of these polls will recycle people. They recycle the people that they use, which is kind of silly. I don't think that that's an accurate. I don't think that's it's fair and accurate to do that. Real quick, y'all mind if I check if we need to figure out if the Republicans are going to pull Trump? Old habits die hard. We're going to find out if Republicans boom, we back, baby. Don't even worry about it. Thank you. What was I about to say? So we're gonna actually read this together. This is from April 16th, and it's so funny because I feel like it's super important for us to cover this if it is in fact true, because the Republicans have actually always primary, right? They don't play that whole we don't primary people based off of whatever. Like, no, they primary. They primary Bush in Bush 1. He ran on that he ran on the Iraq War. So I wanted, because I didn't even know that there was another candidate, and I feel like we can't get so caught up in the Democratic side that we don't pay attention to the Republican side, because if we that Republican primary could actually mean some things in the general, right? So I want to read this article. It's from NBC News. It's from April 16, 2019. Bill Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, said on Tuesday he's running into 2020 as a Republican because he wants a direct shot at President Trump. I want a direct shot at the man who I think wishes our country ill, he said on MSNBC. The best way to get a direct shot is to run against him in his own party. Weld, who served as a Republican governor and ran as a vice presidential candidate in the Libertarian Party in 2016, said that he wants to restore civility to political discourse and challenge Trump's domestic and foreign policies. Everyone knows the president is mean-spirited and that he calls out little people by name. The more that's known about the president's business conduct and his conduct in office, the more I think people are going to come to question whether they really think it's such a great idea being behind the commander-in-chief in office, he said. Wells said he believes much of Trump's support is steered by party bosses in state GOP committees, but he wants to talk directly to the Republican voters about Trump's conduct and his policies. We want the election, both the primary and the general, decided by voters, not party bosses. Uh-oh. That's a statement. That sounds like some things that's being said over in the Democratic Party. Uh-oh. He said, I think what voters are saying is that they are buffaloed and they want to stick with the Republican Party because that's the way it feels. I don't think they've examined the president's conduct. Weld said that he and Trump differ in many, many issues. Weld said that he is an economic conservative with a track record of cutting spending and taxes in Massachusetts. He said the president is demeaned America's allies and his economic policies have not been good for the country. So that's an interesting take. I want to do some research on this guy real quick. Y'all want to stick around with me? Let's go to Bill Weld's campaign website. By the way, this is fresh stuff right now. This is some breaking news. I didn't even know. And it's interesting because isn't it weird that they're not talking about this guy more often? Wow. Okay. Wasn't really expecting this. So he's definitely, it seems to me, to be a true Massachusetts conservative. If you know how Massachusetts politics work, it's a little confusing. Massachusetts politics, their Republicans sometimes can be more progressive than the Democrats are, in all seriousness. Like Romney, before he became a presidential candidate, before he got into the DC world a lot, apparently, and this is according to the sources in Massachusetts who work close to him, he was actually a progressive, which is weird. Cause I would never imagine Romney as a progressive, but then again, you know, that guy's like a chameleon, right? Whenever he ran against Obama by the last debate, we were all kind of confused. We were like, hold up, how are you gonna be different than Obama? Well, what do you think about healthcare? I think everybody should have healthcare. Look at Romney Care. Okay. What do you think about the war in Iraq? The war in Iraq is wrong. We shouldn't be there. Okay. What do you think about and then you start listening to like, hold on. Did Obama just put some white face on, like put some paint on his face and then like that's kind of, but that's generally what the feel you get from Massachusetts conservatives. So I want to take a look at this guy's platform and see if he is that libertarian personality that he is claiming to be. So February 2019, he wants to remove anti-abortion language from the GOP platform. That's interesting. That's a big discussion right now. He supports abortion rights, and he has a moderate stance on social issues. He supports clinic access and guarding clinic access is guarding a fundamental constitutional right. He has an op-ed where he talks about his pro-choice stance. He has partial birth abortion. Partial birth abortion is terrible. But don't ban it. I don't know what that even means in that particular sense. So he's been consistently supporting the women's rights to choose since 1996. So that's good. That's good. So it seems to be a libertarian in that regard, and that's good. Now, on the budget of the economy, he says cut 20% waste in every federal agency. I was one of the most fiscally conservative governors of Massachusetts. Abolish wasteful programs and support balanced budget. Yeah. He supported gay marriage. And this was as of February 2019. Established the Massachusetts African Caribbean American Commission. This dude is dope. Man, we need to push for him to win the Republican primary. Holy shit. This dude is awesome. Well, as awesome as a libertarian can get, but, you know, it is what it is. He said he allocated $1 million for homosexual youth office coordinators. Reaffirmed commitment to affirmative action. Hold on. Is this dude a libertarian for real? No issue. Like what? Prosecute police for civil rights violations? Bruh! Man, y'all better get this man on the debate stage against Trump. Get him out of there. And then subsequently, he needs to leave somewhere because I need Tulsi or Bernie to win. But in all seriousness, I actually, as far as Republicans go, this guy is good. That's a good candidate. Joshua Herrera randomly got Nevada superdelegate asking why Tulsi when she saw my bumper sticker the other day and didn't expect me to have valid arguments and shut her crap down. They're favoriting butt chug now. Oh man, that's funny. But probably that's good. That's good. They are probably leaning towards Buttigieg, and that's fine actually. I'm fine with them leaning Buttigieg because the more they split that superdelegate vote up, the more I am perfectly fine with it. Like I said, there is a battle within the Democratic Party right now with the progressives versus the old guard versus the new wave versus the identitarians. And to be honest, it looks like the progressives are winning. So Bill Weld, although I'm sure I need to do obviously more research on him, like as with all candidates, it seems to me that this guy could have ran as a Democrat, right? But he's smart. And he could come from behind with this Trump situation if he plays it smart. However, I don't know the intricacies of the Republican primary like that, right? So I'm not sure how far he'd be able to get, but I would say that this man, in my opinion, deserves a little bit more coverage if he's going to be talking about standing up to police officers, fighting for women's rights issues, fighting for civil rights issues, cutting waste in the federal government, which I think progressive, libertarian, and anybody who identifies as an independent all agrees needs to happen. And so I truly think that we might be covering this guy a little bit more. Might do some research on him and bust out a couple of videos about Bill Weld because he seems to be a pretty dope dude for the most part, at least in regards to 1 second, y'all. Gotta go to my Twitter. Y'all getting the inside look at the magic right now. Y'all wanna see how crazy my mentions get? Y'all wanna see how crazy my mentions get? Look, I'm gonna show y'all. These are my mentions. These are my mentions. And this is like the censored version of it. This isn't even all of it. It gets crazier than this. This is me taking a little break off of Twitter today. But we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren in a second. I just got to find a damn tweet. Look, see this? Fuck Niko. You got to burn like you never burned before. No apologies. Fuck that guy, Niko. That's what everybody says. Fuck that guy, Niko. People be so salty. They be salty because I be calling out their bullshit. I don't really care. That's why they can't give me no check mark. I be wildin'. They give me a blue check mark. Oh, Twitter gonna have to shut down for that day. Damn, I done lost where I... I'm gonna get there, y'all. I'm gonna get there. My screen with the actual tweet on it got cut out for some reason. Like it's just not there anymore. So I gotta go find it now. We're just gonna hang out together while I go look for it. Yeah, this is my mention. You see what I'm dealing with, y'all? I gotta go through this every time I want to find something. Cause you can't, unless y'all can teach me a trick, you can't go to your bookmarks on the browser. Here we go. This is probably connected to that tweet somehow. Booyah! Found it. Turn up. All right. All right, people. So Warren has decided to try and... Hold up before we get started. Jose Preciado. What is up, man? Keep up good work. Cool, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. Elizabeth Warren. Let me make sure my sound's on. We good. Okay. Elizabeth Warren has decided to take the high road when it comes to her town hall meetings, people. She has decided that she wants to make sure that people aren't feeling alienated. We don't want to uplift Fox and blah, 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 blah. Man, you know what? We're going to talk about that in a second. But I know the real reason that Elizabeth Warren doesn't want to go on Fox. I know why. And she ain't going to say it, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So here's her tweets. I love town halls. I've done more than 70 since January, and I'm glad to have a television audience to be a part of them. Fox News has invited me to do a town hall, but I'm turning them down. Here's why. Fox News is a hate-for-profit racket that gives a megaphone to racists and conspiracists. Man, if only CNN and MSNBC was different, right? It's designed to turn us against each other. If only CNN and MSNBC was different, risking life and death consequences to provide cover for the corruption that's rotting our government and hollowing out our middle class. If only CNN and MSNBC were different. Boy, let me get through this. Hate for profit works only if there's profit. So Fox News balances a mix of bigotry, racism, and outright lies with enough legit journalism to make the claim to advertisers that it's a reputable news outlet. It's all about dragging in big money or big ad money. Okay, y'all. Can y'all? Real quick, super chat. Just a reminder, Joe ain't got shit. Amen to that. Everybody always needs a reminder that Joe Biden ain't got shit. Y'all, listen. I can't even get through the tweets. I can't even get through the tweets. Because she's saying all this and like, yeah, this is true about Fox News. 100% is true, right? I don't think anybody can disagree with this, but everything she's describing would be a great reason to also not go on CNN and MSNBC. Listen to this statement once again. She said, hate for profit only works, right here, in case you don't know. Hate for profit only works if there's profit. So Fox News, replace that with MSNBC, replace that with CNN, replace whatever the hell you want to. Fox News balances a mix of bigotry, racism, and outright lies with enough legit journalism to make the claim to advertisers that it's a reputable news outlet. It's all about dragging in ad money, big ad money. Holy shit, I can't believe she doesn't see the irony in that statement. I cannot believe it. She probably does see the irony. See, Liz, you ain't fooling nobody. I know the real reason that Liz don't want to go on, y'all. Let's be honest, right? Donald Trump dragged her ass through the dirt for a year and some change. And she fell for it every single time. She knows that she's made statements that are controversial, right? Like, oh, I'm a Native American. And she even used Native American, her quote unquote 2024th of Native American heritage that she supposedly has. To get into college, to get certain jobs, to further her own personal career, where she's never given an inch of coverage, never grown an inch of awareness to the plight of Native American people. And she knows that Fox News, if they don't do anything else, they'll do their research when it comes on some shit that you set yourself up for. And she always sets herself up for utter and abysmal failure. Because this is Liz Warren. Thanks for the super chat. Bala Pala Puda Kuki. You got to get a better name if you... Come on now. I can't be pronouncing those type of names all day. You got to cut me some slack here. It's funny because she could go on Fox News and clear all the rumors up. She could go on Fox News and stand up to Donald Trump and... Miss, I have a plan for that. Well, Warren, out of curiosity, what is your plan for addressing you being completely and totally silent on Standing Rock? What is your plan to address pretending as if you wanted reparations for black people, only to never speak about it again because it's no longer in the news cycle, only also to never actually give a legitimate plan for reparations, only to never even mention HR 40 because you never actually planned on introducing reparations? Because that's what's funny. She says, I support reparations. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's how she talks. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a Massachusetts thing. Elizabeth Warren, Miss, I have a plan. Remember that? For my black people out there who are somehow convinced that Elizabeth Warren is somehow good for us. Miss, I have a plan for everything, and even goes out of her way to introduce legislation for all those plans, which is cute. That's cute. But she also said to you all that she had a plan for reparations, but yet everything else she has a plan for. But in legislation to match it, where's her legislation for reparations that she supposedly supports? See, the thing is, there is one thing you can guarantee Fox News to do is catch you putting your foot in your mouth if you are a neoliberal, and that's a fact. I mean, it's you know, that's why it was. They thought that they thought they could catch Bernie doing that, right? They thought they could catch him doing that, but Bernie's a little bit more slick than Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie has been a little bit more consistent, a lot more consistent than Elizabeth Warren has, and she knows this. But that's her problem. That's why she's upset. That's why she is trying to. Warren, you can't handle Fox News. That's why you don't want to go on. When Mike Gravel said this, Mike Gravel has a history of standing up standing on the principles that he put forth when he said he didn't want to go on Fox News. And considering that Mike Gravel isn't actually trying to win, but rather bring conversation and awareness to certain issues like racism, like bigotry and other things like that, I'm not surprised that he didn't go on Fox News. But Warren, you need every vote you can get. You're already trying your hardest to borrow Tulsi and Bernie's lane. But here's what I think that Warren, most of all, is fearful of. They remember, as much as every other progressive in this country, that Warren, when she had a chance to do the right thing, and endorse Bernie Sanders, people, what did Elizabeth Warren decide to do instead? Elizabeth Warren endorsed Hillary Clinton, the Queen of Wall Street, as the same Elizabeth Warren who supposedly is trying to convince us still today that she is going to stand up to Wall Street. Think about it. Think about that. Do you think that Elizabeth Warren wants to stand there in front of God and everybody, knowing that everybody would be watching? Because, oh, best believe we would all be watching, and have to deal with the fact that she was silent on Standing Rock, that she was bullied, successfully so, by Donald Trump, and then to put the icing all up on the cake. You think she wants to deal with the fact that Fox News is going to question her loyalty to Hillary Clinton over the progressive movement that she supposedly claims to be a part of? No. All of this is a cop-out. That's all it is. I don't give a damn how many, she doesn't even have large rallies as it is. She doesn't fill a lot of rooms as it is. But on her best day, she could not reach millions of conservatives. Bernie goes on Fox News even though he has the ability and he has shown the propensity to reach millions of conservatives via social media and other avenues, like he can travel the country and turn on a crowd as large in West Virginia as he can in California, because that's just the kind, and he can turn on a crowd as large in Michigan as he can in North Carolina. He's shown the ability to be able to do that. Elizabeth Warren has not. So for her to try and pretend like, oh, I don't need to be on Fox News, you a damn lie. You need the views, but you know that you are in no way, form, or fashion even come close to Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard. Both who would be more than willing. Obviously, Bernie has already done so. Tulsi is supposed to be doing so. They would go on. If it means I get to talk to the people who I am supposed to be presiding over as president of the United States of America, take me to them. I will speak. Bernie went to Liberty University. He had those conservative children, or I don't want to call them children, those conservative college students cheering for him by the time he left. Why? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether or not they agree with you or not. When you're running for president, you're supposed to be presiding over everyone. And it's interesting that you all of a sudden care about the ad money that is gained by lies from Fox News, but you don't care about the ad money that is gained by lies from CNN or the ad money that is gained by lies from MSNBC. Come on. I'm like, somebody somebody need to kick that horse in the leg so she can hop off that high horse, because it's not happening. Like, you don't get to point at us and wag your finger from your little pedestal that you put yourself on. You're punking out. Just call it what it is. Stop trying to paint it something like, no, sorry. It is what it is. Warren, just admit you can't handle Fox News like the real progressives could, and go on about your business. You know, it's so funny she gave this long. It's interesting to me because you've seen a lot of the other candidates, when they want to try and give you some contrived BS that their PR manager came up with for them, they do it in a tweet, right? Because they don't want you to see their mannerisms. They're not passionate about it. They don't believe in this stuff. Whenever I give speeches, anyone who's ever seen me speak at an event, at a rally, or anything in between, I don't prepare speeches. Why? Well, not that anything is wrong with preparing speeches. Especially if there's a new issue that is introduced and you don't want to miss it. That's a different discussion. But I speak from the heart because these are issues that I speak to every single day. If this was seriously an issue for Warren, then Warren wouldn't need to go on Twitter to have her PR manager. She would do it in front of the camera. But she isn't passionate about this. She said, PR guy, how can we make Fox News look bad and make me look great for not going on there? This is what they came up with. Meanwhile, Tulsi, every time you said, well, what does Tulsi think about this? Oh, there's a video for that. What does Tulsi think about Iran? There's a video for that. What does Tulsi think about Bibi Netanyahu? There's a video for that. What does Tulsi think about Trump? There's a video for that. What does Tulsi think about the Council of Foreign Relations? There's a video for that. What does Tulsi think about, we can go on a list. What does she think about Ilhan Omar's situation? There's a video for that. What else do you want from her? Because she speaks to these issues she believes in. And you can say the same thing for a lot of Bernie Sanders stuff. Bernie Sanders makes a lot of videos in the same fashion. But Elizabeth Warren is a robot who is told what to say based off what she thinks the people want. What she thinks, what the polls say the people want. Consultants guide her message and construct it, not her. That whole "I have a plan for that" gimmick is it's not gonna last long. And if she went on Fox News, it would get exposed. So, with that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mi Casa Es Su Casa. Please help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon. You can do so by donating in the link in the description below or going to www.patreon.com/Mi Casa Es Su Casa. Make sure that you subscribe if you have not. Like the video before you hop off. Share the video before you hop off. And remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.